Hi, welcome. Woman sitting to my right is Dr. Anne Innis Dagg, and she's my mother. I'm Mary Dagg, and she's led an amazing life, not just being my mother as well, but when she was, let's see, when you were in your early 20s, Mom, you traveled to Africa, right, to study giraffe, but you always knew giraffe were.
Yeah, I saw them in the Chicago Zoo when I was 4. My mother took me down there, and I thought, ooh.
So you mentioned before, Mom, that you were 4 years old. You looked up, saw the giraffe, and thought, "Oh, I want to study this giraffe forever." And then tell me what happened after that.
Well, nothing much, because when I came back to Canada, I said, well, let's go and see a giraffe again. But they said, well, there are no giraffe in Canada, which I was horrified.
So you went to U of T. You did your undergrad in zoology.
Yes.
Then did a master's at U of T.
Yes.
And at that point, you thought, Africa.
Yeah, and then I thought, this is really, I should go now. And then my mother actually was Dean of Women at the University of Toronto. And I thought, well, she won't be very happy. But I went up to her room where she lived there now for 9 years, actually. Mm. And I explained that I really wanted to go, and she said, I know you want to go, and I think you should go. I thought, what? I was absolutely stunned. I thought I'd have to do a long argument, and she said, when she got married very young, and I think maybe she was thinking of that maybe. So anyway, she gave me some money. I had some money that I'd earned, and I took a boat across to England, and then I had the name of a man that had a lot of giraffe, but it turned out that he found I was a woman, so he didn't really want me. But I did go to another person who talked about animals a lot. So I stayed there a month, and they helped me get information to the man that had the giraffe, arguing that do let her come. She wants to. She's come all the way from Canada.
Right.
So eventually I did, and then I spent months and months at the giraffe place, which was fantastic.
Well, I remember you saying that you had to say, you were saying, hi, this is Anne Innis, I'm interested in studying giraffe, and oh, woman, no, woman, white woman shouldn't be here. You have to remember, this is in the 1950s. Apartheid was alive and well in South Africa, and apartheid basically said the whites and the blacks do not mix.
I found this so horrific that I wasn't supposed to speak to black people, that I spent all my time talking to black people.
Yeah.
Because then, these are people I'd never met, and they were doing work I didn't know about, and it was fantastic. And we had made good friends. And then the white people were saying, what are you doing talking to a black person?
Yeah, don't talk to black people. Yeah.
Well, he has some super ideas, and it was really nice.
So describe your day. So eventually you do find Mr. Matthew, who's running a citrus farm. And back then, I guess, they had sort of open, I think at one point there were fences everywhere?
Yes, well, some places, if they had animals that they wanted to keep in, because there'd be other animals as well.
Okay.
Cattle for milk and things like that.
Okay, so they'd have cattle, and then there'd be just these giraffes walking around. They're wild giraffes, just like here we see a raccoon. Or eventually you move into the citrus farm, and Alex Matthew, who's running the farm, says, I love animals just like you do, and says, hey, let's work on it together. So tell me about kind of your typical day when you were there.
Well, a typical day we started at 5, and Mr. Matthew would say, come and get your tea. I was thinking, do we have to start at 5? And then I'd go out till about 8, and then I'd come back and get breakfast at the house where I was living and he was living.
Okay.
At first he didn't want me to come because his family was in California. We became really good friends. Mm-hmm. And we kept on until he died in the 70s. We wrote letters back and forth. It was nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
Where did I leave off?
So, so your goal when you were watching the giraffes, what were you doing?
Well, what I was doing was every giraffe I saw, I would put down exactly what it was doing. So at 10 o'clock, the female giraffe that I'd seen yesterday, and you couldn't tell the difference because of the spotting. And so I would know some of them who hang out, but then others would be wandering off from other places. So I just wrote down everything that they were doing. This giraffe did this, and this giraffe did that. And then I did that for, I guess, probably a half a year, something like that.
Right.
And then later on, I got the whole thing organized and wrote a book, which worked very well.
And you always had to sit in a car to watch
Yeah.
them.
Well, at the beginning, I thought, well, I'll just sort of sit around and maybe follow the ones that I'm interested in. But of course, by following them, they were then not doing what they would do normally. So it was imperative that I stay in the car the whole time.
Right.
And it was very, very hot. Sometimes you start at 5 and then go in at 8, you go and have breakfast, and then at 9 to 12,
and you're just like, oh, I'm dying to eat.
And then all afternoon pretty well. So, but just that I was with the giraffe, I was just in euphoria the whole time.
Oh, so
it was
cool.
Wonderful.
And I think you enlisted the locals to help you identify which plants the giraffe were
Well, I
eating
was
is
trying
from.
to, but they didn't really. They thought I was nuts. So.
Because I think you wanted them to tie a ribbon around a certain tree. Okay, I just saw the giraffe eat this tree, and then once the giraffe wandered off, you could go and get some leaves from that tree.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So I did a whole lot of that. So I think I got enough to know what leaves. And then I visited a botanist, and she told me what these. I had various individual leaves, and then she told me what they were, and then I could make a whole chapter on that. What happened with the giraffe?
Oh, very cool. Wow. So eventually you left England, you left South Africa, took a boat back to England, and I think that's where Dad was waiting for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I always remember you saying you guys got married. There wasn't nobody around, so you had to get the sweeper, and the person cleaning had to be your signers, the witnesses. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then when you came back to Canada, I guess 3 years in Ottawa originally?
Yeah, 3 years in Ottawa, while Ian was trying to get a job that he was a physicist, and he wanted a job that he liked. And then eventually he got one in Waterloo.
Yeah. So, I don't know how well known this is, but my dad was there at the original starting of Waterloo, because I think the physics building was the first building at University of Waterloo, and that was his subject was physics. And he was actually there to pick out the colors and all the, the mascot and all that kind of stuff. So that was cool.
Yeah, that was really nice.
That was 1959, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So then Waterloo became your new home.
Yes, and I've loved it.
And there was a reason you picked the house that you did on Albert Street.
Ian and I played at the Waterloo Tennis Club for years and years and years.
Oh, I would say easily 34 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, long time. And I guess my brothers and Hugh, Ian, and myself, my two brothers and me, were Waterloo through and through. So we all went to Brighton School, and then we went to McGregor, and then WCI, and then I went to university here, as did my brother Hugh. My other brother went to college here. Like, it was all Waterloo.
Yeah, and we loved it.
Yeah.
It was super.
Well, it was so great because the house actually backs onto the park. So you guys could go off and play tennis. And then I remember my brothers and I just running around and having a great time in Waterloo Park and going up to the inn on the park. It used to be where you could get these really cool ice creams. And they would have the Lions pool, which I think they've just unfortunately taken that down. But anyway, at the time we were there, it was actually a pool.
Right.
And then I think at some point they turned it into a splash pad. And back then it was Silver Lake, and you could actually get into like those paddle boats and paddle around Silver Lake. So would you say Waterloo was a good place to raise kids?
I think it was perfect, really. I think Toronto would have been all that much too much, perhaps.
Right.
But Waterloo we walked everywhere pretty well.
Yeah. And, yep. We were close enough to go down, pick up some milk. The church was literally, Emmanuel Church was literally right across the street.
That's right. We could walk to the university.
Yep, walked to university. We walked down to Quickie.
Library.
Yeah, we were always at the library. That's right, I forgot about that. Yeah, we were at the Waterloo Library all the time. So it was very much a community kind of thing, when there was tons and tons of kids. I know we did, like, do you remember the zoo that was in Waterloo Park? I mean, they still have some animals there, but they used to have a cougar and bears.
I felt sorry for them, though. I wasn't
Yeah,
particularly.
Mom was actually instrumental in getting the bears out of that because the actual cage they were in, the enclosure, was tiny. It was awful where they had them. So Mom wrote many, many letters to try and get them out. Eventually, they did move the bears. And they had a cougar there as well, and it was in a very small location, too. So the cougars got moved out, and I think they turned into a rabbit. Tons of rabbits running around.
But we love all animals.
Yes, yes. But you wrote a number of books in the 70s and 80s about animals in Waterloo, right? You did the animals of Waterloo in Wellington County, I think it was.
Well, yeah, I've forgotten the name, but.
Yeah. And I mean, what animals would you have focused on, I guess, in Waterloo?
Well, squirrels, I think.
Squirrels. I think you did some stuff on raccoons, minks.
Yeah, quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, there's surprisingly, you don't realize it, but there's a ton of creatures all around that
And
you
we've
didn't
got
really
foxes
recognize.
right now living in where I live now, which is quite near there.
Yep. And I remember my mother doing experiments with, we found a dead duck, and Mom tied it up in the back of the, Mom tied up the duck in the backyard, and then each day we'd go out and measure how long it took all the worms and stuff to maggots to eat away at the duck. Good times in the Dagg household. And with the birds as well, Mom. You've been huge on the birding community. We spend a day birding somewhere in mid-May, and we can see sometimes over 100 species of birds,
Incredible.
which is like mind-blowing. So once you and Dad settled in Waterloo, and you know you had the three little kids running around. I know at that point you had your master's and you wanted to go back and do your PhD. So
Right.
you did it at the University of Waterloo.
Yes.
And was that unusual for a woman to be doing her PhD? This would have been the late 60s?
No, well, it was not as many as men, but there are a few of us.
Okay.
And I did it at the university itself, University of
Your Waterloo.
Waterloo, yes.
Yeah. And usually you have to have somebody who kind of takes you under their wing to do the
Yes,
PhD.
and actually I had a friend who was quite nice, and he really didn't care at all what I did, but he was so nice that he said that was fine.
That's the perfect supervisor to have.
And then when our movie was being shown, apparently up in the north, on the very north edge of Canada, some lad put his hand up and said, "Oh, I remember, I was one of the people too that..."
Oh,
I didn't know anything about the gaits of animals either, but we needed a person to say it was okay, and then I could have...
that same supervisor was like, "You're doing a great job. Whatever you're doing, just keep doing it."
And so what I did then was measure how an animal like a giraffe and then a cow and different animals and how they moved. And I don't think anyone's ever looked at the body of anyway.
The work that you did.
Yeah.
I think, well, you wrote a book about it. Was that the running, walking, and jumping book?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
again, I don't think it was wildly.
Not quite flying off the shelves.
But it did the
So-
thing, and I had my PhD, and I was really happy.
So for that, and it took about 3 years. Would that be right to do
Yeah,
a PhD?
probably, because I had 3 children at that time, and I know I had to stand on the table so that it wouldn't get up at me, and then I lean over and make measures about what the animal's feet were doing at various times.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do you remember that at all?
I seem to recall watching movies of these giraffes and these camels walking and walking. It's like, my God, this is boring. But when you're PhD, you're measuring how are they moving, how are they walking, the distance between the feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was specifically the focus over that 3 years was the locomotion of large animals.
Right.
Okay. And you had the other women that you were working with. Did you develop sort of a connection with them because you were all women?
Well, yes, because again, when they had said we really don't want any women doing PhDs, we actually got together and helped each other trying to get further jobs, and if a job came up, we'd know what woman to ask and try and get a woman in.
Oh, okay,
So
well, that's good.
I spent a huge amount of time working with other women, and they were working with me to try and make it possible for a woman to be a person at the University of Toronto, at the University of Toronto, or
Or any university, I guess, yeah.
That's right.
Tried to get a position as a professor role, and met up against a lot of sexism. So I think then that was really sort of a turning point at that point. Would you say, a big girl now, and be a professor and have tenure? They're like, no.
And then I said, well, I've written 20 books. Have you written that many? And they turned the conversation off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a struggle. And I guess one of the things that you focused on as well was trying to get them to come forward and say, terrible thing that we did, and we're going to try and make a difference. And we actually have heard from the 3 universities that did discriminate against you. One of them was University of Guelph, University of Waterloo, and Wilfrid Laurier University. And all 3 of them have stepped forward and done different things to say, wow, not cool. All of them did indicate, it's a whole nother regime, we're in 2020s versus what happened in the 1970s. But what I found kind of scary was we actually did a showing at the University of Guelph, and they invited anybody who wanted to come check us out, come see the movie. We were there, and they gave us an informal apology. And then after the movie was shown, we talked to the Q&A with a lot of the students, and they're like, it's still pretty sexist. And we're like, you like to think it's come a long way, but I must admit.
But we're fighting. We're
fighting
really hard now.
Yeah, and the universities pretty much will say, back then it was just, I think the one that you had with Guelph, it was this small group of white men who said, you haven't got the parts. And now they're saying that you can't do that anymore. We've got much more layers of challenging, why are you promoting this person and not promoting that person?
Well, we hope that's happening. We don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, they've told us that's what they're doing.
Right.
So we're hopeful, but, at least it's a start.
Yeah.
And the thing about Mom's movie too, or Anne's movie, was it talked a lot about the sexism you face, but unfortunately, when we talked to people that came to see the movie, there were so many women who were in exactly the same position. Like one woman came up and she said she applied for vet school in University of Guelph in the early 70s. And they said, yeah, we're only taking 10% women, 90% go to men, and you just haven't got the mark for the 10%, so sorry. Mom isn't the only story that this stuff was happening with. It was unfortunately happening to so many other women, but you were fortunate enough to have a filmmaker approach and say, let me make a movie about it, and she made a phenomenal movie, and that's made a huge difference. It started the dialogue, I think, is a big part of it.
Yeah.
It started people
and people are thinking now if they're going to be sexist, they're a little nervous, and
yeah,
maybe they won't even do it, which would be so exciting.
Right, yeah, they'll think about it. Of course, fast forward, the movie's been made. I mean, so many young girls and women are like, whoa, wow, this is amazing. How does that make you feel? Like, what does that do for you?
It makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. After pretty well every movie we've given, our movie about this, there'd be maybe a row of 20 people waiting to say, to talk to me because they were so excited about what I was telling them.
Yeah,
and that was just wonderful. And I remember one woman at I think it was at Guelph, was really angry. She said, well, I remember I was at that time and I would have loved to have you, and of course that was forbidden, and therefore it sort of ruined my life, what I had hoped to have. Yeah. And that happened to really most women, and I was just lucky that I fought hard enough. But then, of course, I never did become a real professor. Right.
But I guess your story, and unfortunately there were so many other ones, you got the opportunity to tell your story.
That's right.
And now people are seeing it, and I think it's making a huge difference.
Yeah, it is. People and all because of Alison Reed, who was the maker of the my giraffe story, and she did a brilliant job.
Yeah.
A lot of people were crying at the end, and I was crying. I hope I didn't always cry.
Because you got a PhD from Waterloo, University of Waterloo, in the 1970s, but then they came back and gave you an honorary PhD because they treated you so badly at the time. They wouldn't interview Mom. She was married. We don't even interview married women. And we were sitting up, I was there with Mom, and we were sitting up on the stage during the graduation ceremony, and there was maybe, I don't know, 7,000 to 8,000 people there. And then as the students were coming up and they were shaking the hand of whoever, the president or whatever, a couple of the women actually came over and shook Mom's hands first. And it was kind of like, these are the science ones. And they came over and shook your hand, like, if you hadn't done what you would have done, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today. It was so cool.
Yeah,
that was really, really cool when they came up and did that.
Yeah.
So we've got some fun facts that we want to ask you about your favorite animal, the giraffe. So first off, how fast can a giraffe run?
Oh dear. I never really timed a giraffe running, but usually I think they aren't really running like crazy because there's really nothing to run from. If there's an animal there that might hurt it, they can obviously run, but then they would slow down.
Yeah, I'd read in certain situations they can up 60 kilometers an hour, which is really very fast.
Oh yeah, that's very fast.
But with their super long legs. But to your point, I mean, I guess if a lion was chasing them, but otherwise, if they're just doing their thing, they probably wouldn't be.
They wouldn't be running at all if they had their own ideas. Why would you run?
Right.
You just go and eat.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. What kinds of things do giraffe eat?
Only, I think, pretty well leaves, different kinds of leaves. I don't remember seeing any eating grass, but there wasn't much grass around either. So really, they just and I guess some leaves were better than others, and some weren't eaten as much. But I've forgotten which are which right now.
I think there's an acacia tree. Is that
their favorite?
Yeah,
they love acacia trees.
Right.
Yeah.
And apparently there's over 100 species of acacia trees. So
we've got to try them all.
Yeah. And what about a giraffe's tongue? How long is the tongue?
Well, it's very long, and it can come out, and it's black. So it was really, dark anyway, and I remember being really sort of amazed at it dark. But I guess maybe it was against the sun, perhaps?
Yes, there is some theory that if the tongue goes out, and I guess it's designed that it can kind of wrap around, say if there's twigs, it can wrap around and pull the leaves back in. But there is some scientific theory that it is just to protect from the sun.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
Yeah. They never tell us.
Now, what about being licked by a giraffe? Now, obviously, that wouldn't ever happen in the wild. But if you, I think you've had an opportunity to feed a giraffe a couple of times.
Yes.
What does it feel like to be licked?
Oh, it felt lovely. But I think.
Is their tongue really rough, or?
I don't really remember. I was euphoric. I was just thinking, imagine being licked by a giraffe, the happiest woman in the world. And I should have been.
How many bones are there in a giraffe's neck?
Just the same as ours. I think it's 9 or 7.
7. Yeah, it's interesting because giraffes, human beings, and I think whales all have, which is just random, all have the 7 vertebrae.
And
so the same as us. Yeah. And why do giraffes have spots?
The thought is that it would be among trees, which of course it is, because it likes that's what it feeds on, and then it would have the same sort of
like a camouflage kind of idea.
Yeah. So that a lot of it would be dark, and then some, and presumably that was the ones that did have a coat like that were presumably the ones that lasted longer, and therefore that's why more giraffe do.
Okay, sort of with the evolutionary.
Yeah.
And I must admit, when we went back to South Africa in 2016, we were driving along on a range, and we must have been 6 feet from a giraffe and didn't realize it. And the ranger's like, there's a giraffe right there. Oh yeah. Like on the surface you're thinking, God, it would stand out like a sore thumb, but it really does suit the terrain that it lives in.
Yeah.
Do giraffes like to live alone, or do they live with other giraffes?
Well, I've always saw them living with other giraffes, so it's hard to say. I think they do a lot of moving, and if one mother wants to go one way and another the other way, then it doesn't seem that they always are at the same group. I think they just go wherever they want, and if there's giraffe there, that's fine, and then they might want to go somewhere else. And when I visited in the various places in Africa, they're usually spread out, and you're not really thinking of it
as a sort of a group,
yeah,
but they would sort
really,
of,
yeah,
kind of do their thing.
yeah.
Has a giraffe ever been named after you?
Yes.
Yes.
Because we were talking about that earlier.
That's right.
Yes.
Toronto Zoo.
Yes.
So the Toronto Zoo, they had a male and a female, then they had a baby about a year ago, and they named it, they had a contest for what name to pick. They picked Amani, which means peace in Swahili, and which is the language they speak in a number of countries throughout Africa. And they gave them Mom's last name. So it is Anne Innis Dagg.
And
So
I have a little somebody in the zoo knitted a thing saying the name, and I have it when I read the paper.
Yes.
And so every day I think about that lovely.
Yeah. And I was excited. I always wanted a baby sister, and I got a baby sister. Took a long time, let me tell you. Okay. Did you or have you done any research with other animals?
Not in such depth, but I have done an awful lot of research with different species, depending on what I was working with. Maybe a particular food that's been eaten and who's going around. So I've got altogether about 20 books with this sort of information in it.
Right, and you did go back to Africa to study camels, but
Yes,
that was North Africa and Northwest Mauritania.
Yeah, and then we did a book about that, and that got a prize in Chicago.
Yeah, right, about camels.
Yeah.
And that would have been published back in the 1980s, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. For some reason, camels don't have the same level of attraction as giraffe.
Well, it was very interesting because we were working with some people that lived with giraffe, and we spent our time actually going in the incredibly hot weather, and then camping at night. It just the way they did in the olden time.
Yeah.
So,
In
and
the
I was
Sahara
with
Desert.
a German woman who knew more about it than I did, and we had a really good time.
Yeah. Yes. But you've also done books about animal friendship.
Yes.
And also older animals.
Yes.
And I think maybe kind of shadowed what was happening in your life. I think when you're thinking about your friendships you had as a human, what about animals? And then you're looking at,
oh yeah, it might have.
when you're getting older, what is the
that.
role of older animals? And then the last question, how can kids and adults get involved to help protect giraffes in the wild?
Well, one of the exciting things is actually run by you, which is the children's. What is the official name?
We call it the Junior Giraffe Club.
Yes. So once a month we have children who are interested in giraffe, coming together and on the web, and Mary then takes an hour to show them various things, and they talk about each other and what they've done, and it's working incredibly well.
Yeah,
the children are just thrilled.
Yeah, we have about 25 members so far, representing 5 countries.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the goal really is, because a lot of the kids, they'll love giraffes, and some of them may think, oh, I'd love to see them in the wild, or maybe I want to be a giraffe zookeeper. So how do I turn that passion into maybe a career? So we've actually brought in one guy, he's the zookeeper in Toronto with the giraffe, Jason Pudelau. So we brought him in, they met with him, and they asked questions. And then our next meeting is coming up shortly. But we brought in another guy who's a zookeeper down at Six Flags in California. He's going to be talking about how he works with giraffes. And then we want to bring in rangers in the wild. And yeah, so we've got lots of different ideas. And we started up a foundation. So it's the Anne Innis Dagg Foundation. and you can get it www.anneinnisdaggfoundation.org. And there's a section called Take Action. And there's the biggest challenges, I guess, with respect to giraffe in the wild is what's happening with their habitat. So with populations getting bigger and more buildings are being built into houses, it's encroaching on the human population. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's encroaching on their land and their access to food, their protection. There is some trophy hunting that goes on with giraffe as well, especially in the US and in Europe. So they will shoot them and then cut off the head and put it on display. So we're trying to stop that stuff. You know, if you want to shoot something, shoot it with a camera, and then everybody can enjoy it. You know, I mean, I don't understand the whole hunting, but so there's that piece. And also giraffe parts. For many years, it was ivory, and the elephants were under their numbers declined massively, so people could get the ivory from their tusk, and that ivory was used to carve things out of. But now we're finding that there's so much controls over the elephants, and there's still a demand for African products that now they're saying, oh, why don't we use a giraffe femur? So they're killing giraffes and then taking their bones and carving those into giraffes and selling them. I'm like, this poor giraffe died to have its bone carved into giraffe. So we're trying to get a lot of awareness about that out there too, to say, you know, don't bring anything. People are using boots covered in giraffe skin or Bibles covered in, you know, I've got a Bible cover made of giraffe skin. I mean, you know, just don't stop that. Like, you know, help them out, let them be happy and live in the wild. So we're doing a very special program with the Museum of Waterloo. We're giving away 5 giraffes. This is a book Anne wrote, and very excited. And it's all part of a series of books, 5 of various different animals. I think you've done a rhino one, and there's a camel one. This giraffe one actually won an award. It won a $10,000 award from the publisher for kids in science. That's the focus of it.
And the other books haven't actually been made yet, so I'm not sure.
I think you've written them, they just haven't been released. Yeah. I think they time them every 6 months. But this was the one Mom's like, I have to do the giraffe one. And my favorite one of the 5 giraffes was a giraffe named Jemima. And, Gemma? Yeah, Jemima, sorry. And you can see poor Jemima had a head that stuck up. And then I think at some point, maybe when it was in its 20 or 10 years old or something, the bone just went and the giraffe was then sort of side on the neck. And it was fine. It was like arthritis or something, they figured, and you know, it just kind of figured out, okay, this is the new normal. I'm going to be on the side here. And it actually came in quite handy when she was trying to eat food or trying to get food that was along a ledge, because she could just put her head down and eat the food along the ledge. So I love Jemima. But the beauty of this one is it talks about giraffes having 4 stomachs and how they live and what they eat and their coat patterns, and it's really
about 5 different individuals.
Yep. So you get to have a chance at winning this. Very exciting. So this has been great catching up. Right now we're at the Museum of the City of Waterloo, and we want to thank everybody for joining us. It's been very cool. I always get a chance to talk with my mom and learn more about giraffes every time. So, and don't forget to add your comments, ask your questions. You got a shot to win this book, 5 Giraffes. So please, we'll welcome to hear any questions you may have.
Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you so much.